spooky stories and jump tales. What spooky stories have you heard, seen, or read? Which were the spookiest or scariest? Why do you like to hear, view, or read these stories? What makes them spooky? What makes them scary? Spooky stories can include mysteries, adventure stories, and survival stories. Types of spooky stories, aka also known as various scarious. From the source Scared Silly by Diane de las Casas. Jump tales. Tales to make you jump, to startle you. They're good around lolling campfires. The teller speaks in a low, spooky voice for much of the story, and then surprises listeners with a fast, loud sound, such as a scream, "Ah!" or a ghost shouting, "Boo!" Jump tales. They end with a gotcha, a surprise ending to make audiences jump. Examples are The Teeny Tiny Woman, Taily Po, and A Dark, Dark Tale. Jump tales. Tips for telling. Take your time. Don't rush. For the scariest parts, get a little quieter and slow down so listeners feel as if they are in the story. There should be a strong contrast when you suddenly say something loud and fast. It helps to look toward one side of the audience just as the ghost or monster is about to say something loud, and then jump toward the other side. It helps to make a quick hand motion at the same time that you try to startle listeners with your voice. From Scared Witless by Hamilton and Weiss, pages 12 and 13. There are also slightly spooky or silly spooky stories. Many begin as jokes and rely a lot on wordplay. They draw out the suspense and spookiness until the end, when the teller delivers a funny punchline. Rap, rap, rap. The Viper and the Coffin are examples. For example, in Rap, 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 there's a rap, rap, rap noise in the spooky attic. And when the brave child goes upstairs, that child discovers that the rap, rap, rap was merely wrapping paper. Wah, 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 wah. Or the Viper. You might think the Viper is some sort of half snake, half man. And when he calls you on the phone and says, "I am the Viper, I'm coming up to your apartment on the 13th floor," you finally discover he's just the window viper coming to wash and wipe your windows. Or the coffin that is running around the graveyard at midnight. You might think it's a box or a chest that has become exhumed, unburied, and holds within it a dead body or corpse. Oh, but no, it's simply A little boy who cough, needs a cough drop. Wah, 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 wah. There's also legends. Legends are born out of actual events. The stories eventually become so big and exaggerated that they turn into legends. Most famously here in America, there's the legend of Sleepy Hollow, aka the Headless Horseman. And around here, in Mecklenburg County, Virginia, specifically Chaptico Road, where Mecklenburg County enters Lunenburg County at the Meherrin River, we have our legend of Angie's Bridge. More on that in a later video. There's also urban legends, which originated in or around urban or city areas. Their origins or beginnings are hard to trace. People claim they're absolutely true because they heard it from a friend or a friend of a friend, a foef. Examples are the vanishing hitchhiker, spiders in the hairdo, and the sewer alligator. Just a taste of spiders in the hairdo comes from storyteller David Holt. Oh, it's a story that takes place back in the 60s when women loved those big, high beehives. Oh, but this one lady, Dolores, she ended up not with bees in her beehive hairdo, but instead hundreds of black widow spiders, which dropped to the floor and began crawling around the hairdresser's shop. Oh, she eventually had to grab the electric clippers and cut off her hairdo right next to the scalp, because as her beehive fell to the floor and burst open, inside were millions of spiders' eggs ready to hatch, and that's because she sprayed her hairdo week after week without washing it. Oh, and she woke up one morning with a tickling sensation on her cheek. Spider webs stretching from her face to the bedstead, from her face to the lamp, from her face to the pillows. And ultimately, as I mentioned before, she had to shave her head to the scalp because of spiders in the beehive hairdo. And now you know. Ghost stories. Tales of the supernatural with ghosts sighted or playing a major role. Hauntings in which spirits are said to roam the earth. Oh, and a famous one in one of our books here in our library is The Haunted Portrait. It takes place at Virginia's own Shirley Plantation in the book Spooky and Spookier, 4 American Ghost Stories. We have some local ghost stories too. In South Hill, Virginia at the Colonial Theater, near Clarksville, Virginia at Prestwood Plantation, right here in Lay Cross, Virginia at the Lay Cross Hotel, down Highway 58 at the Berry Hill Plantation, and across the state line in Warren, North Carolina. Warren County, North Carolina, even has a cryptozoology and paranormal museum in nearby Littleton, North Carolina. Cryptozoology and Paranormal Museum. It's dedicated to the study and display of creatures and phenomenon, or should I say phenomena, not recognized by traditional science. They even have, dun 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 dun, a haunted doll. Do not open. Oh, where and when might you find haunted dolls? Where and when might you find a scary setting. The setting is a disturbing place. Where do the spookiest stories take place? When do the spookiest stories take place? Setting, where, and when. Scary stories feature descriptive writing to convey fear and suspense, that sense of feeling excited, anxious, and uncertain. It's a spine-tingling sensation. Descriptive writing describes the sounds, places, things, or people in the story, like a face in the window, a stormy night, creaky stairs. How do these words add to the mood of the story? Use sensory details to appeal to our five senses. It was a dark and stormy night. Descriptive writing. Characters. Who's there? Who's there? Who's there? Who's there? Characters. Who's there? Plot. The events in the story make up the plot. What happens? Adventures, mysterious events, problems to solve, getting lost or trapped. Is he trapped out or trapped in? Plot. Books. Ghost, monsters, spirits, and other scary creatures will give the reader thrills and chills in Dare to be Scared and Double Dare to be Scared by Robert D. Sansucci. Horror stories of witches, ghosts, and best friends who return from the dead. There's Shadow House. Some houses are more than haunted. They're hungry. Can 5 kids make it out of Shadow House alive? Or will they be trapped forever? By Dan Poblacki. Goosebumps graphics by R.L. Stein, like Slappy's Tales of Horror, featuring Shocker on Shock Street, Werewolf of Fever Swamp, Ghost Beach, and Night of the Living Dummy. That's R.L. Stein's Goosebumps. Slappy's Tales of Horror. How about Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, and more scary stories to tell in the dark, collected from folklore and retold by Alvin Schwartz. Stories of ghosts, witches, vampires, jump stories, and scary songs. How about the book Strange Mysteries of the Unexplained by Oliver Boyle? Describes many unexplained mysteries, including Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, Stonehenge, and encounters with aliens and unidentified flying objects. How about the book Share a Scare, Writing Your Own Scary Story by Nancy Llewellyn? Yes, you too can tell a tale and share a scare. And here's a very short spooky story, or story starter. One night, a man woke up in a horrible fright. He reached for matches so his candle could light. He reached for matches so his candle he could light. And the matches were put into his hand. Oh! That's from A Year Full of Stories by Angela McAllister, page 102. One night, a man woke up in a terrible fright, a horrible fright. He reached for matches so his candle he could light, and the matches were put into